Alright, hello and welcome. So this is a different video than my other videos in the fact that I took over the course of a few weeks time to say, well, I'm doing a certain process and I got this really kind of niche-y way of doing it, and I thought I would share that with you. I go over some equipment too that I have in my lab that's kind of useful to have when electroforming or in any jewelry, really, to be honest with you, and kind of ways to think about manufacturing something over and over again, because at some point, it is art, it is a hobby, but you'll get to a point where you're making money in it and you need to produce a lot of it. You might be going into consignment or wholesale instead of just doing shows. Shows are a good step to getting consignments. Consignments is a good way to bridge into wholesale. But I would never jump into wholesale without going consignment first, because you have to learn how to make things over and over very quickly and still maintain quality, if that makes sense. So I share some of those things with you in this video. It doesn't have any rhyme or reason. It's just when I'm doing something, I'll stop and say, well, you know what, this might be useful to know. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this video. Alright, step one. Look for a product that you can do the majority of the steps anywhere. Okay, whether that be on vacation, whether that be in the car while you're waiting for the kids to get out of tutoring, whether that be at the park while the kids are playing, whether that be you're upstairs watching TV but you really aren't interested in watching it, but you want to do something else. It requires 2 or 3 tools, and you can do a lot of the steps somewhere. You can also do many of them. You do let's say 10 or 15 an hour, okay, of a certain step. Look for that in your workflow. Before you go producing the one ring that took you 6 hours to make, let's look at something that you can do over and over again. I'll give you an example, okay? I won't walk you through how I do this. I don't think you'll corner the market on it, but so this right here is something I can produce very cheaply, easily, and it pays for most of my projects because I can sell it wholesale. Okay, it's a very simple wire wrapping with an electroformed back on it, so it's very sturdy, it's almost indestructible, and you can use any crystal point. So I can use kyanite if I wanted to, I can use black kyanite, I can use agate, whatever. Okay, now after I develop a product that's inexpensive, I get good at it. So now I'll just say, well, now I can do this stage, which is just wire wrapping the wire around the crystal, and I can do that on the couch over and over and over again. Okay, I might then have a whole plate of these things, and they need another step, and another step might be this. They might need some gluing. Okay, gluing would require me to go downstairs into the lab so I don't get this weird buildup right here. So the messy things I keep in the lab, but this isn't a messy part, and it requires 3 or 4 hand tools, like these little pliers right here, and some cutters and some wire, and I can take those anywhere I want, and I can produce a lot of them into this stage, and then I can take them to the next level and then the next level and the next level in big batches. Okay, so they're all ready to be electroformed at some point, but they're all ready to go. And if I have any downtime at all, let's say which I just did, I tore my meniscus cartilage in my knee, but it didn't slow down my production because I already had a big stock of this stuff. So all I had to do is crawl down to my lab, switch out the product, wait 6 or 8 hours, and pull it out. I didn't have to, I was still producing some stuff even when I was injured. That's pretty sweet. Okay, so that's what you have to look for, and I'll go through some of the other methods in this video, how I line things up daily so you get a good routine. But that's the first thing you need to do, is find a product that you can do, or find a stage of your product that you can do somewhere else other than your lab in your free time. That's relaxing too. This is pretty fun to do. Alright, so I'll give you another example. For this is just a product that I put out in order to make ring shanks. Okay, I can produce a very long string of this, okay, and then I can go somewhere else to cut it and wrap it around a ring mandrel, and then produce the rough part of this, okay, a ring shank, which is very helpful. So I can make these ring shanks at a certain stage. I can wrap them around the ring mandrel, make sure there's a certain size, and I can produce a whole handful of these from this anywhere. Doesn't have to be in my lab. There's another example of finding a stage that you can do anywhere. Alright, this station is my composition station. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll have this is a hot mess. It's always been a hot mess. It'll always be a hot mess. There is no cleaning this station. There is no organizing this station. It just remains like this. For a reason, I can just grab little things and kind of like put them together. So if you are into electroforming, I bet every electroformer has one of these little areas. They just don't talk about it or show them on a video. But I am a brave dude, so there you go. That's what it looks like. Creativity in motion. So on this station, I have the rings set up, or whatever I'm doing the day before. They're all ready to go in the bath, and I can do about 6 rings at a time, or 4 bracelets, or 6 necklaces. Okay, so I know that. So what I'll do is I'll set them up in series. Here's the 6 that are going today. Next I have the ones that are like gap filled, ready to be painted, and then I have some that are compositioned with no gap fill, and then lastly I have my bracelets that are starting. So what I'll do is I'll set them in series, and it just moves down the path. I'll just grab these in the morning and put them in the bath, and then go have breakfast or whatever, and go back down later on to paint and to gap fill. So they're kind of set up in a series so that you're always manufacturing at least 6 or 4 of something. And that's the secret of manufacturing right there, is always have something ready to be manufactured. Alright, this is my grinding station, and I would keep this away from all the other processes, to be honest with you. I would also keep this in an area that has got a cement floor. If you don't, during the time that you're using one of these are going to go everywhere in a carpet, and you're going to pick them up in your feet. Your kids are going to pick them up in your feet. You're going to be digging these out of your feet. Okay, so don't do that. Cool. On the station, basically things come out of the bath. I throw them on the plate. I use a Fordham SR. That. Okay. It's a type of a Dremel. I would highly probably recommend just getting a Dremel first, saving up for the Fordham SR, and get the one with the chuck key. It holds every bit known to man, and even some of the smallest drill bits I've ever encountered. So it's so handy. I use this so much now that I have it. And you can get down to the lowest speed ever. It's very sweet. So these wires are welded just about to that. And what happens is I gotta trim that wire and then sand down the inside. And then you also want to make sure that the inside of this is nice and flat. Cool. I would save these up right here. They are very handy. One, you can get these little things. Okay, these are ring presses, or I don't know what they're called, but they're on Etsy. You can take one of the wires and hammer it into one of these, and then you get a ring shank. Okay, a textured ring shank. Or you can melt all these together using a propane oxygen torch on a really thick metal plate, and then hammer it all together and then run it through a rolling mill, and you get this really cool wall hanger that sells pretty good at events. So I don't have one, I've sold them all, but they are really sweet. They're very abstract looking. Nobody knows how they're made, you know what I mean? And there we go. That's how they're made. Just wadded bits of scrap material. Cool. And side numbers, which are always good to have. Again, separate process altogether. Very messy. I do keep polishings over here too. And that way, this whole area is a big hot zone of contaminants and all good stuff. I know where to wear my mask, wear my safety glasses. Everything is just right in this area. Things come off the trimming station and go to the other side where I have this. This is another station that is a big hot mess. Very good to own one of these. Doesn't matter what brand, but they are invaluable when it comes down to it. So you'll get texture that looks like that, which is a little harsh against the skin every once in a while. But then you can polish it to look like that, which knocks down this stuff to the point where it's nice and soft compared to this. So every once in a while you will get this going, okay, on bigger pieces. If you crank up your power to get this type of texture, you're going to eventually run into the fact that it's not always shiny because you've cranked up the amps, and then you have to polish it down. So compared to this is a low and slow type of electroforming, and you can see how the texture here is cool, but it's man-made texture, where this is nature-made texture. Okay, you can make this look like this shiny though with that right there, and you get a hybrid between the two. And kind of like a hybrid is something like that. Nice. So things come over here, they get polished, and that thing will polish even these sell really nice. These are just kind of slag copper, but when you polish them, they're plasma gouged, and you polish them and they look really nice. And what I use for a polish is this stuff right here, polishing compound on this type of wheel, and I can get all this stuff from Harbor Freight just down the road. Completely messy. It has this stuff that comes out and all over the place. Do never do this stuff in your house, ever. Do it in your garage, do it in your basement. Never do this in your house. You'll regret it. Wear a respirator every time you use this thing. And what I'll say is, like, I'll have a whole bunch of things that need polished build up here. That way I know when to run this. I don't run it every day. I'll wait for like 10 or 15 pieces before I actually run this for that day. Alright, when I'm not at any of the other stations working on grinding or trimming or clear coating or any of that process, I'll start working on exclusive things. And the exclusive things I'll plan, like the next exclusives are Halloween. And In this case, I'm going to be making some witch's brooms, some really large ones, and they're going to be with poplar handles. Not popular as poplars, but the wood poplar. It's a really cool knotted type of wood, so I have to integrate them with the black kyanite. Black kyanite is going to have an iron base in it, so I'll have to clear coat them. But this process right here is one of the lengthier ones, so I'll start weaning it into my manufacturing ahead of time, that even though that's like 3 or 4 months away, it's just good to start weaning it in rather than trying to do it in October. Keeping an inventory of dried goods is very important. So if you do like walking in the woods and picking up things and collecting odd stuff, this is a really cool hobby for you. You can see this is a bin just filled with like poplar, which is a very knotty type of wood with lots of texture. But anything that I kind of find or need or want to pick up into a composition, like these really long thorn apple tree branches with these thorns that are about 2 inches long, some birch bark, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So what you do is you'll put them in a bin and just throw them in your garage, and the next season they'll be ready because they'll dry out by then. Alright, a good trap to get into when you first start this is buying crystals. Okay, you'll usually go on Etsy or some other place and you'll find these pictures that look like this. It's 3 crystals sitting on a hand, and you can't judge the size because obviously my hand is bigger than somebody else's hand, but it's like you can't judge that. So if you go to glue it on a ring, for example, like you need a certain size that fit on a certain ring, right? So you need this certain size, and that certain size is very hard to find. So what you do is you buy within that size range at a bulk. Let's say you buy 3 or 5 pounds of something, the bin of 5-pound amethyst. I threw these crystals in the wrong bin, but a bin of amethyst points. Okay, so you buy in bulk. Search like Alibaba, search like eBay, go to gem and mineral shows in your area, go to wholesale gem and mineral shows in your area. They're all over the country. Sometimes you have to travel for those, but they're worth, take some money with you, save up, go to one of those, and you can absolutely clean house when it comes down to it. Don't buy the 3 or 4 crystals on Etsy unless it's a client requesting that they need 1 piece of shungite on a crystal, and you might not ever sell another one. Okay, or the rarity ones like opal. Even opal I buy in bulk. So don't fall into the trap of paying $10 for 3 crystals when you can buy 5 pounds for $200. And what you do is you look for the right size, the smaller ones, and the bigger ones. People collect them. They love them. So you could just make sure that you are very open about, like the collection that you're selling, and sell whatever you're not using back. And then you take that money and you buy more crystals. So your crystals are always generating money to buy more crystals. You don't even have to sell rings to buy crystals. And after a while you get just bins of them. Yay. And it's so much cheaper that way. So there you go. Alright, let's talk about price point. Right? Variable price point within your artwork. And here is why. When you are selling at an event, you'll learn this. And if you learn it at the event, you will produce and sell a lot more. not just at the events, but into consignment work and into wholesale. Okay, so people will walk up to your booth and you'll have a display, much nicer than this, but of goods. All right, they all have variation on the prices, and they'll pick it up in the manner they feel that they are worthy of owning something. Okay, they might start out like looking at the copper bracelet and they're like, oh yeah, this is cool, or the little kid will pick this up, okay, and beg mom to have it. It's just a copper bracelet, okay, it's inexpensive, it's easy to make, and you can make a bunch of these, but they do sell very well. Next step up would be something with a little bit more complexity. A copper bracelet that's really thick. It's got a lot more variation to it. Takes a couple processes in order to make. It's going to be a little higher in the price point. Okay. Next, you would have something that maybe is electroformed. Okay, it looks different than all the rest. It's got a crystal in there. You're like, whoa, that's very sweet. Something flashy, right? I call it the statement piece. This is something not everybody will buy, but they want to pick it up and look at, and it kind of bridges the gap into everything else. Obviously, a little bit more expensive, but only because it's bigger. Actually, this one versus that one, you know what I mean? They're both kind of statement pieces, but you should have multiple statement pieces on your table. Then you have the conversation piece, I want to call. It's something super high priced, and it has some, like uniqueness to it. Like it has like moving parts, has a kind of a story behind it. You can put it on your wrist and lock it. Takes a very long time to build, so you want to keep that price point way high on this one. But this one will allow you to have a conversation about all the other ones. And really what people do is they buy the story, to be honest with you. The mom might pick up this, okay? She'll buy this one for her husband and this one for her kids, because they know they're going to destroy one of these, right? Or they buy in a batch. One person will buy a bracelet, the other person will buy a bracelet of like. But because there's a multiple price point there's so many variations, and you sell a lot more that way. You sell in groups rather than just a one-off piece. And that way you can produce like 20 of these off to the side, 20 of these off to the side, and you might only be able to produce like a couple of these, right? Because they take a lot more time, and then one of these a year, but they build up. So have that multiple variation within your products, no matter if it's rings, bracelets, necklaces, whatever. Sell them from anywhere from a $10 piece all the way up to like a $200 piece. All right, let's talk about selling other things other than jewelry. Okay, how about displays? Okay, displays are very super cool at your booth. They are very helpful when you get to the level of consignment, because you can build your own displays for the store that you're displaying at, and they just stand out. So other than just necklaces, crystal stuff, I'll build display work. So here's a piece of wood, right? Cut it on the table saw. You sand it on the corners, and then you'll cut these little V's in there. The whole piece maybe takes 5 minutes to cut, and then to burn takes a couple seconds, and you're done. Okay, don't spend a whole lot of time on it. It's cedar, okay, so it smells good. Here's a block. Okay, this block you can cut on a table saw. You can cut a bunch of these out very quickly. Okay, you could stain the whole thing, or you can just burn the crap out of them. It looks good. Cedar wood. Boom, boom. Okay, doesn't take you very long to make this, and then what you're doing is you're taking your necklace, you wrap it around this, and it's so inexpensive to make that you sell it. Okay, so this might be dangling from a hook for $15. This will be off to the side for $25. I might sell one of these like this. I might sell that for $8. Certainly didn't cost $5 to $8 to make, but people will buy the display in order to display it on their fireplace rather than just, wear it all the time. So think like that, and think of the things that you're using to display your work, and how, I don't know, like the stuff off Etsy and just those standard everything that comes out of Joann Fabric and Michaels and all those other places are just making your work look like garbage. Go the extra mile, even if you have to get a little more creative when it comes down to like rustic looking or handmade. Hand make your stuff. Trust me, people will see that and they will buy your stuff just because it looks a little bit more handmade, it looks a little bit more authentic, and it has a little bit more of a story behind it. That's pretty important. Alright, so I realize that this video could go on forever, so I'm going to cut it a little short because, yeah, you don't want to watch a 2-hour video of just random, thoughts and ideas. And it doesn't have any good structure as far as like, hey, here's step 1, here's step 2. So if you're interested in that type of learning, if you're interested in a school type approach, I do have a link below to my school where I cover how to do electroforming, how to start out a business in it, as far as like, here's how you make your liquid. And then I got advanced classes where you have to do organic work. So if you're interested in starting up like a small electroforming business, and you want to take that first step of, learning what it is and how it works, I do have a school below and you can sign up. So I hope you enjoyed my random video, but I promise you in those is very organized and well structured and scaffolded together step by step in order for you to understand what it would take and what you would need inside your house to work effectively and safely to make quality product. So I hope you enjoyed.